I had the honor of working with Dan throughout his time with the department and as his patrol partner at night in the mountain detachment. Dan always treated me like his older brother, and I always treated him like my little red-headed brother. We teased each other like brothers do. At times we fought like brothers do, but mostly we shared our love of catching bad guys with our mountain detachment team. It has been said that Dan was the kind of guy you'd want responding to your home if you or your loved one was having a bad day. But it was also true about Dan that he was the kind of partner you wanted when going to calls. Working at night in the mountain detachment, or what we jokingly call the law south of Muck Creek, takes a responsible, special type of person, as our backup is many miles and minutes away. Dan showed unwavering courage, showed care and compassion to the weak and hurting. Bad guys knew Dan, and he knew them. There was a mutual respect and a professional rapport. You didn't want to be on his radar screen, as he enjoyed hunting and finding wanted subjects, stolen cars, and running interference on drug houses. I don't remember Dan ever getting a complaint. Several months ago, Dan and I were at a call dealing with a young man, a repeat customer, and an anti-cop type, who was swearing at us and not taking any responsibility for his part in a domestic dispute. I was, let's say, verbally confronting the young man about his behavior and lifestyle choices. Dan, like a good partner should do, got in between us and moved me away. I chewed Dan out at the time, and halfway through my rant, Dan looked at me through watery eyes and said, "It's me, it's me." I could tell that I had hurt his feelings, and I became quiet. He was right, and I was wrong. This is the kind of guy and partner he was, always wanting a peaceful solution and willing to stand up and to protect. Health and fitness was Dan. Dan was super strong and speedy guy. One day, Dan and I went to arrest someone who had assaulted his girlfriend. The subject was passed out on a bed and was woken up by us telling him that he was under arrest. The guy completely flipped out and started fighting us. I grabbed one arm and jumped on him while Dan did the same with the other arm. Dan was having no problems controlling his arm, but I could not leverage the subject's arm into a handcuffing position and continued to struggle. Dan, with one hand, held his arm, reached over, grabbed the other arm from me, and pulled both arms together and calmly said, "I got him, Luke. Go ahead and let go and cuff him." We talked about coaching and our glory years of competitive sports. Dan would see me eating junk food from the mountain detachment snack bar and would tell me about it. I would say, "Shut up, Dan. It tastes good." Dan would show us selfie videos of him working out at the CrossFit gym. And even though it was impressive, I would tease him about making such videos. He was proud of his workouts and always spoke highly about the people at his gym. I was fortunate enough to speak with an organ donor representative the night following Dan's passing. The representative was explaining how they were able to utilize Dan's well-kept, junk food-free organs to provide extension and quality of life to many recipients, including wounded soldiers. What an awesome gift. Dan loved Steven Crowder, a conservative comedian, and the podcast Louder with Crowder. Dan would send us links of the podcast to his mountain detachment partners, and we commonly did roadside visits and laughed about the episodes. Dan was all about his home life with his wife and 3 boys. Dan talked about his boys as a proud father. Dan would share stories about taking them to the gym with him, playing sports, going on bike rides, or caring for the wild cats that showed up at their house one day. Dan was always doing remodeling projects, and from what I saw was quite the handyman, to include a home visit to help out the not-so-handy Deputy Jeff Goditis. The McCartney family are part of a small church in Yelm. It gives me great comfort to know that Dan was a Christian believer and that he is in heaven with a lot of other good company. Dan believed in the power of prayer and would welcome all of your prayers for his family and our department. My pastor and I were talking the other night about good and evil in this world. We see so much evil and the worst of what people are capable of doing to each other in this job. Being part of this memorial reminds me of how much good and caring there is in this world. When you see amongst the thousands of people an elderly couple standing at attention, saluting and shaking to hold still while the procession passes, and a young child waving while holding an American flag, you're reminded of how many good people there really are. Dan approached life the same way he approached the job. He was 100% all in. One day, Dan and I went to arrest a subject with a warrant. The subject saw us and immediately started running on foot, and we chased him. He was able to put a cluster of patch of vine maple trees between us, and as we ran, I, being the wiser older deputy, took the longer route around the trees as Dan started running through them. Dan was smashed in the face and clotheslined by one of the branches, which later turned into a black eye for him. Being that bigger brother, I laughed at Dan, left him there, and continued chasing the bad guy. As I was now closing the gap and about ready to make contact, I then saw the flash of Dan and a good form tackle of the subject. Dan had outran me. Dan has once again outran me to his heavenly home, and as I know, he had looked up to several senior patrol deputies. We all now look up to him in heaven. One last thing. There's a new canine on our department who will be hitting the streets soon. I met with Dan's boys several days ago, and they decided that his name should be Dan. So I'm putting all bad guys in Pierce County on notice. Dan is still coming for you, as am I, as is every other person on this department, because that is what we do. Thank you.